Oh, hang on. All right.
So that was live. That was
yes,
live.
it was. Sorry, there shouldn't be anybody watching now. Oh, Bronco Fett's normally like right there. Well, hold on.
Just as I got in, it's you leaning forward. All right, let me get the chat here opened up. I'm gonna plug this into Scott Rasmussen says hi.
Hey, there he is. Oh, Scott is on the list, by the way, of call-ins.
Of qualifiers for call-ins. Nice.
Yes.
Nice. I'm glad you're keeping track of that.
Oh, and speaking of the other call-in, Bronco Fett is also on the list. So that's two. I think we should only open it up to like 2 or 3 more people total.
Yeah,
keep it to like a 5 maximum.
I think that's fair.
And also, before we actually go live for the podcast, you need to look at your schedule, and we got to figure out what day we're going to actually record it, because we're not going to do it on the 4th, because that's the day it's going to be released, and that's a Friday. So we need to record first, second time frame, whatever whatever works for your schedule.
We'll work out those details once we close this up.
Yeah, just like keep in mind to look at your schedule to do that, because we need to schedule that for our call-ins and everything. I think I'm good.
Yeah.
We do need to do our silence. I got the notes up.
I'm ready. So let's do the silence. Let's.
All right. So silence. I gotta note all of this, and I have to talk as I do it. So 1802. All right. So yeah, 30 seconds of silence, and then we'll roll right into the episode.
Word.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to All Things Star Wars, the greatest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. I'm Mr. Jason Roscom. With me here each and every single week, the grinning Dave Martin. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Jason.
How are you?
The 30 seconds of silence just kills me. Just sitting here, looking around, staring.
I'm trying to keep my bearing here as I'm watching you like grinning and chuckling to yourself over there.
There's like I got wind chimes going in the back over here. The neighbor next door is taking down his pool, so there's like all kinds of banging and shit around there. So I'm like, oh, hopefully that's not affecting our 30 seconds of silence. But we get trains go by, by the studio, and it doesn't seem to affect it. So hopefully it'll be okay.
Yeah, should be good. So what are we talking about this week?
We're finally. Cue the celebration music. We are finally going to talk about Rebels. Yes, Rebels.
Yes, you've been talking about this for a long time. A lot of our listeners have been talking about this for a long time. Now, I just want to keep in mind, even though we are talking about Rebels Season 1, we are not abandoning Clone Wars. This is going to run in parallel with our normal Clone Wars reviews, much to your chagrin, I know, but we are not abandoning Clone Wars because I haven't seen either series all the way through, and I want to finish them both.
It's a fair point. I just think as we catch up in Rebels is a lot less stuff. I think we'll probably be done with Rebels before we're done with Clone Wars, just because of the sheer number of episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm happy. And like you posted on fucking Instagram, I hope you fuckers are happy. Yes. Yes, we are. We are happy.
Yep. So we'll get into the details about that a little bit later, but we've got a few other things we got to take care of first. First of all, I looked at the Star Wars app. No really good day in Star Wars over the next week or so. Like Andy Serkis was born like 3 days from now. Bunch of other dumb shit. It's like, I don't care enough. So we're skipping day in Star Wars this week.
I was going to say nobody could see me doing the jerk off sign because I hadn't spoke. So now I'm speaking and doing it. So there you go. That's how much
there you go. But I see you have a note here to start off the show. So you want to get into that?
Hey, listen. Yeah, it's on a non-Star Wars kind of serious note, Jason and I both have aviation backgrounds. So the day we're taping today, it's Tuesday the 17th. They had a Southwest Flight 1380 did an emergency landing here in Philly. They were scheduled. It was a scheduled flight out of LaGuardia to Dallas, and they got up to 38,000 feet. This is based on the news. So let me caveat all this by saying the news doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to aviation. No fucking clue. Don't ever watch CNN or anybody else, some fucking talking head that sits up there and says, "Oh, we're experts." No, you're not. The experts are fucking working at the NTSB or the FAA. If they're not talking, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I can't stress that enough. Don't waste your time watching some major media outlet and try and learn something about aviation. You will fail miserably. Now, that being said, this particular flight, they were up at altitude. This is Jason knows when you get your clearance to take off. Usually, they'll tell you, hey, you'll get flight level 350 10 minutes after departure, and that's usually what happens. You're getting up to your cruising altitude at about 10 minutes, so which seems like a long time, but depending on how they step you up, whatever. Words. They got up to altitude. They had a uncontained engine failure, which sent debris from the explosion from the engine into the fuselage, shattering one of the windows. It's actually, if you look, it's the window. It's actually behind the wing too. So the debris came up over the wing, hit the fuselage, cracked this one window, and unfortunately, it caused a decompression, a rapid D in the airplane. And the one woman who was sitting at that window actually got partially sucked out. She probably still had her seatbelt on because it was still fairly soon after takeoff, which may have, kept her in the airplane. The big thing is, unfortunately, they're not confirming it, but it's, the Philly media here is talking about that she ended up being the fatality here in this accident. But Jason can attest to the actual, the flight. If something like that, when you have an uncontained failure like that, depending on how much the engine is still spinning, that is a lot of drag all of a sudden on one wing, which means some fairly violent, besides the explosion, as you can imagine, up in the air, explosion just would be very, very scary. But from a crew standpoint, when you're flying the aircraft, now you have asymmetric thrust. And so it requires the pilot to do, maneuvering with the rudder to try and compensate for that asymmetric thrust. And now it's a rapid decompression. Oxygen masks are dropping. So now you have to do a descent down to 10,000 feet to make sure you're regulating the cabin pressure. And there's all these things that have to happen. So the only reason I even bring it up is, I wanted to give kudos to that Southwest Airlines crew for it. When they diverted into Philadelphia, they landed the passengers egressed off the airplane with air stairs. They didn't have to evacuate the airplane. There's the difference between evacuation and egress, as Jason will tell you, is on a egress, that means you're walking off the airplane. On evacuation, that means you're sliding out of the airplane. So they were able to egress out of the airplane, and there was some minor injuries, but for the most part, everybody is okay, except for the unfortunately one fatality. And it's a lottery shot, for being in that position at that particular time, for it to hit the window and crack the window to a point where it would cause the decompression. But I can just imagine from a flight crew standpoint, when you're sitting up front and all of a sudden you got all that asymmetric thrust, and you're trying to manage the aircraft, and you're trying to get the descent in and do everything else. And the fact they were able to make a normal landing, get everybody off the airplane, and I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to recognize that, hey, good job to that Southwest Airlines crew on that flight 1380. So,
yeah, and as two guys who, again, came from the aviation field, we flew for over a decade. And yeah, you go through so much training specifically for shit like this. And it's not just the pilots, though the pilots are a huge part of that, because they train for what happens if you lose an engine at fucking altitude. What happens if you lose an engine on takeoff or whatever. So they go through hundreds of hours of training to respond to all of this stuff. And then the flight crews, the flight attendants, other people who are in the back, they go through all the training for dealing with emergencies inside the cabin, like moving people around, getting people off the airplane once you're finally on the ground. And yeah, it's a lot that your average passenger does not see. And it's for incidents, these rare incidents like this.
You're trained. Jason and I were both instructor evaluators on an airplane, and we were directly responsible for training people and evaluations, making sure that in scenarios like this, that they would know what to do. They would know how to react in scenarios, extremely similar to these.
Yep.
So, like I said, again, I don't want to spend we could do a whole aviation podcast, honestly, and be smarter than anybody that they're going to put up on fucking CNN. But like I said, kudos to the crew to getting them down. NTSB is on the scene. They're going to take the stuff apart and they're going to figure out what exactly happened. I'm here to tell you, between Jason and I, we probably have over 6,000 hours flying around the world multiple times.
Yep.
In an airplane that, excuse me, that's not even including a commercial travel. That's just the stuff that we've been, a crew member on. Say that flying is so safe, and it's so safe because of the amount of training that you do for scenarios just like this.
Absolutely.
So anyway,
so
that was that.
Moving back into some Star Wars stuff. I saw this thing as soon as this happened. The internet fucking blew up, depending on who you follow, what YouTube videos you watch, and all that. And that is Mark Hamill did an interview with I think it was like Good Morning America or somebody. And he basically mentioned they'd asked him about coming back for episode 9. And he mentioned that he really doesn't have the desire to do it right now. Mostly he talked about the fact that Han Solo was killed off in Force Awakens and Carrie Fisher is dead in real life. And he just said, it's just not exciting going back to do another movie, because my two friends aren't going to be there. So, and it was just, if you read the transcript from the interview, he really just sounds like beaten down and just like so done with everything Star Wars, with all things Star Wars right now. So I don't know if he's just in a rut, or he could be just fucking with the fans. He could have already signed on to play Ghost Luke in episode 9. But I mean, you and I saw in these documentaries from the Last Jedi Blu-ray, he did not look like he was into it.
I feel like that there's some truth in this. It's tough with Mark Hamill because he puts a lot of stuff out there that it's there to troll people.
Yes.
This thing in particular, it would make a lot of sense if he wasn't like not foaming at the mouth to be like the center of the franchise, obviously, because it'd be really tough to do as Ghost Luke. And for two, like you said, basically his friends are all dead and they're not really a part of the franchise. The franchise is moving on without him. Yeah. And I think he's coming to grips with that one form or another. But again, being Mark Hamill, it's anything he says on Twitter, people are going to react to one way or the other. And he knows that and he loves it. Loves it. Loves the fact that we're talking about this right now. So Jesus Christ. Speaking of airplanes, it sounds like these guys are taking a pool down next door. It's above ground pool. It's big pieces of sheet metal. It sounds like there's an airplane crashing outside. That's like,
yeah, it's a good time to take down your pool too, right before summer. Makes sense.
Well, what sucks is I've actually been looking on Craigslist for people to like, hey, people get rid of their pools. Like, hey, show up, take down the pool, and you can have it, right? Because I had a little knock-up pool last year. We talked about it on a podcast.
Yeah.
Sidebar, infamous sidebar. And I was like, maybe we'll do something a little bit more permanent, maybe. Yeah. And right now, since I have no income, like I'm not going to spend a nickel on something that I already have that functions. And then like right out from under me, my fucking neighbor's getting rid of his, and somebody's already accounted for it. But it's like, God damn it, you could have just threw the shit over the fence.
Yeah, would have been so easy. You could have helped him out,
dude. Again, to finish this sidebar at 9:30. Between 9:30 and 10:15 last night, the motherfucker had a crane out in the yard. Okay, he works in construction, so he's got this crane like for a video audience. So like here's the crane part, right? And he picked up his deck. He's got this like deck that wrapped around the pool. Picks up the deck, like gets it up above garage height, flips it around, and puts it back down.
Must be nice.
I'm like, all that fucking noise this late at night Why?
Just to turn around,
Just to turn a fucking deck around. I don't know if he's going to like build it into the side of the garage because it's a nice deck, but it's just 10 o'clock at night. I'm fucking like, what the fuck is going on?
Anyway, Mark Hamill, don't be surprised if he does not show up in episode 9 as a Force Ghost.
I don't think. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't show up anyway, unless they do unless they include something where JJ is going to use it as a something to make sense with Leia. And how they're going to write off Leia. If they're going to have any imagery at all, he may be a part of that. But otherwise, I can't imagine him being in the episode at all. Yep. I'd be really, really, really surprised.
Yeah.
But anyway,
so yeah, let's get into our week 2 before we get into the main topic, as we do every week. And for me, my weeks mostly consisted of more playing the Old Republic when I can. I've started cornering the market again, because when I play the Old Republic for a long time, I start to get really into trade skills and like kind of cornering the market on a few things. So I've cornered the market on like 3 different kinds of armor die. So I'm making a lot of money on that. And I
really wish I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
I want to be able to get into this game so bad. But
yeah, well, you need to try whenever your retirement shit's over.
I think the way to go right now is just to be like, figure out how to live as a almost 43-year-old man that sits here and just eats Cheetos and drinks Diet Coke and plays Old Republic all day.
That sounds like a good life to me. So
that might take the house out from around me, but shit.
But I just posted last night, I think, in our private Facebook group that I have also started the second Darth Bane book, The Rule of Two, because as I'm playing through the Old Republic, going back to places like Korriban and some of these Sith Empire locations, and I'm reminded of Darth Bane, because we read first Darth Bane book and we talked about it. But yes, I am now reading that one. Rule of Two. Yes, that one right there.
It's like, there it is. There it is right there.
Yes. So, yeah, I started it 2 nights ago, actually. I'm not very far into it, and I'm not making any guarantees how long it's going to take me, because you know me and reading. Plus, I've got like school that I'm doing here, Old Republic, and all kinds of other shit. So, but just know that it is being worked on, and we will eventually talk about Darth Bane Rule of Two.
Hooray!
Yeah. Besides that, speaking of school, so I'm down here in like a school environment learning how to do computer stuff. And one of the things we're learning right now is Linux. And it's basic Linux shit, command line stuff, how to make a directory, how to delete files, all this shit through command line. Anyway, our instructor's going through these PowerPoint slides that are showing us how to do all these commands. And whoever wrote this fucking curriculum had to have been a huge Star Wars nerd, because on every single PowerPoint slide is a Star Wars reference.
Nice.
Like, yeah, like this one, it's like creating a variable, and they created like, I don't know, force equals strong with this one. And like, if it says like you're put a user into a group, like put user Yoda into the group Dagobah, and just all kinds of shit. So yeah, I figured that was worth noting on the podcast.
That's great.
Yeah. So of course it's a bunch of fucking cyber nerds. So
obviously,
what do you expect?
It's got to sneak in there somewhere or another, or you'll have some fierce debate about some Trekkie will be, in your shit. Which, oh, by the way, I want it documented right here and now that I think when you get back, I have not seen Hardware Wars. Like, I know of it. I've never seen the whole thing. Yeah.
First of all, it's only like 8 minutes long. And I can't believe you've never seen it.
I've seen a 20-minute version of it.
I saw Hardware Wars before I saw Return of the Jedi. I remember this.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've seen enough of it enough times, like through different things to reference it. But at the same time, it's like, I think we should make this a thing. Like you said, you have the VHS, right?
Yes, it's buried somewhere, but I have it.
All right. So you have the VHS. I think we should pop the VHS in and watch it like live on air.
Sure.
And react to it. I think it'd be fucking great. Anyway, because
there's also on you.
Well, not like the full thing. It's really weird. Like if there's a link out there, somebody send it to us or post it on the Facebook site or whatever that has like, this is the full thing as it is on the VHS, because what I was watching seemed more like a trailer So
that's all it is. It's just like it's like a long trailer. That's all Hardware Wars is. It's
well,
not an
then
actual
I have
movie.
seen the whole thing.
Okay.
I thought there was when I looked it up on IMDb, it was like a 45-minute thing. That's what
I don't think so.
That's what it said.
All right, more
Anyway,
research will be done.
But regardless, I think it's something we should watch on for the fucking show because it's.
Oh yeah,
like I said, I think that ham fucking salad it plays a better Han Solo than this dweeb that they got for the fucking movie.
Alden Ehrenreich or whatever the fuck his name is. I know I'm butchering his last name, but guess what? I don't give a fuck.
I don't care either. I'm not. Something really drastic would have to change for me to actually call him by his real name.
Speaking of Solo, something just came out today, right?
Is
that what I'm gathering?
This the last shot.
Yeah. So
last shot. So apparently,
tell us a little bit about that.
So it's a reversible cover. Like if you'd rather have the Lando cover, it's on the inner jacket. So it's kind of nice. So that's kind of cool for people that would rather have Lando on their cover, which might be me. We'll see. See how the book goes. So interesting things about this book. I know I was already communicating a little bit with some of the guys on over the Facebook group.
Yeah.
The time frame that this takes place in is actually after Aftermath. So really. So here's I posted it online, but for the YouTube audience, like see right there, it says,
get the fuck out.
You've got Aftermath and then Last Shot, then Bloodline.
Oh shit.
So I'm going to read you the jacket. Okay, we're not giving anything away. If you go on Amazon, you can read the same shit, but I'm just going to read it to you to give you an idea what the Solo book's going to be about.
Yeah, I'm really interested now.
So this is the inner jacket. So even the fastest ship in the galaxy can't outrun the past. Then it's one of the galaxy's most dangerous secrets, a mysterious transmitter with unknown power and a reward for its discovery that most could only dream of claiming. But those who fly the Millennium Falcon throughout its infamous history aren't your average scoundrels. Not once, but twice, the crew of the Falcon tries to claim the elusive prize. First, Lando Calrissian and the droid L3-37. 37?
In a row?
At the dawn of an ambitious career, and later, a young and hungry Han Solo with the help of his co-pilot Chewbacca. But the device's creator, the volatile criminal Fyzen Gor, Fyzengor.
Okay.
Fyzen Gor isn't interested in sharing, and Gor knows how to hold a grudge. Okay, then it goes, now. It's been 10 years since the rebel hero Han Solo last encountered Fyzen Gor. After mounting a successful rebellion against the Empire and starting a family with the Alderaanian princess, Han hasn't given much thought to the mad inventor. So this is just basically giving you the segue.
Yeah.
But when Lando turns up at Han's doorstep in the middle of the night, it's Fyzen's assassins that he's running from. And without Han's help, Lando and all life on Cloud City will be annihilated. With the assistance of a young hotshot pilot, an Ewok slicer prodigy.
Okay.
Are you fucking kidding me? I almost gagged, honestly, when I read that. An Ewok slicer prodigy. Because Lord knows Ewoks would fucking... You know what? Never mind.
They're barely sentient beings. Like... They're almost closer to animals than humanoids, but go ahead.
An Ewok slicer prodigy, the woman who might be the love of Lando's life and Han's best and furriest friend, the two most notorious scoundrels in the New Republic are working together once more. They'll have to journey across the stars and into the past before Gor uses the device's power to reshape the galaxy. So, the book takes place I apologize. It wasn't. I don't know if it was Scott Rasmussen. I think it was Brady Lovin, Big Lovin, was talking about this. We're talking about the OG Han Solo.
Yeah.
Hooking up with Lando and I guess making some continuity there.
Yeah.
In this book, so hopefully it's good. But it doesn't give us anything. It may not really give us anything for the Solo movie, and that's what's a little bit disappointing. Like you're releasing the book. Holy shit! Bless you. Where's our dump button for your sneezing and shit? looking at this book, hey, look, see, just keep it right there. I'm disappointed to look at it and I was surprised by the timeline. Maybe I shouldn't have been. Maybe I should have done more research on it. But I just ordered it. It said, okay, for the podcast.
It's not what I was expecting at all. I was expecting like a prequel to the Solo movie, honestly,
and it's not. So it'll probably give us some background. If they're talking about it in the jacket that there's a previous story to this, then okay, they'll probably talk about some stuff, and it might make the Solo movie make a little bit more sense as far as like being part of that gang. Maybe this is the Scarface guy in the movie. I should have looked that up. I was going to, I got distracted. Sorry. So,
it's all right.
Whatever. But anyway, here's the book. I'll probably have it finished by in the next week. This will be my project. After my retirement stuff is over, I can sit down and just start reading this, and I'll like apply for USA jobs and then read this a little bit, then apply for more jobs and then read this. Anyway,
it's good. It's a good balance.
Yeah. So anyway, it's here.
Hooray!
So, anticipate. I doubt Jason's going to read it. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there that I doubt Jason's going to have time to read it. So if we talk about this further and break this down more, it'll probably be more along the lines of how we're going to kind of talk about A New Dawn here in a minute when it refers to Rebels.
I don't appreciate your tone, first of all.
Well, tell me I'm wrong.
I will not.
Am I wrong?
But I just don't appreciate your tone. That's all.
Am I wrong? There are stupid dogs. I'm being honest. I'm giving you my honest opinion. I don't believe that you're going to have an opportunity to read this. Just like you didn't read The Legends of Luke Skywalker. Just like you didn't read Rebel Rising. I don't believe you read Inferno Squad for Battlefront 2.
We talked about it on the fucking podcast, asshole.
Well, all right. So you did.
Oh my god.
You've read it. You've read a couple of books.
Jesus Christ. All right, I'm not talking about this right now. Can we move on, please?
Anyway, so that's
Inferno Squadron. Fuck you.
I forgot that you read it. It just happened. I didn't even think about it until I saw it on my shelf here. So the other thing, that's really it that showed up today. Hooray. The other thing, so just to kind of keep people in the loop with this whole Teespring thing, we're trying to get shirts made to be able to sell over Teespring. That's the website, right?
Yeah. A lot of podcasts use it.
Yeah. Well, apparently none of those podcasts have the word Star Wars in them because after many ambiguous emails from who I believe to be an alien, like the responses,
human emotions.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Zuckerberg before the Senate.
Oh God.
So I'm getting these like canned responses, and in the middle of a canned response, it actually asks a question about like, oh, well, what email address associated with it? Was like the one I'm emailing you from. Well, what campaign are we talking about? The only one that's associated with this email address. I mean, and it's taking weeks between emails too. So I'm like, fucking aggravated with that. So finally, it just comes back with straight out like, well, it has Star Wars in it, and Star Wars is trademarked. So see our trademark policy. I'm like, okay. However, they sent me my shirt. So remember how I said I bought a shirt? Yeah. So they did send me the shirt. I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy with where the logo is on the chest. I actually wore my shirt earlier today and sweated it up. So I'm not going to say it again. But this came today.
Where'd you get that?
I ordered it. So the idea with the Teespring was that when you order the shirt, you can order a sticker. So the sticker came today, which is, and nice. The sticker actually came out pretty good. So I know that we can use the sticker company that makes our fucking the zaps for the military stuff. I guarantee you they're not going to give a shit. So I might just go ahead and pull the trigger on that as soon as I have some working capital to do that. But yeah, so the Teespring thing is not going to happen unless we change our logo. Honestly, really, that's what it comes down to. So if we decide to do that at some point, like maybe just do something like that's something that Jason and I'll talk about. If you got any input out there, let us know. Just because, and honestly, that's what it is. It's the word Star Wars, and on the back of the shirt, I had the website, All Things Star Wars Podcast, All Things Star Wars Pod.com. I had on the back of it, so I had the word, just the word Star Wars on it. So we could potentially make an adjustment to the logo, which I don't necessarily want to do. I like it. I like the way it's presented now. So something to talk about in the future. Apologies for not, I'm still working on getting shirts and stuff out there. It's been so fucking busy. Like, retirement is not like retirement's not all it's cracked up to be. But
I believe it.
There's an option for getting shirts and stuff out there. Just create an online store or something. And I know that those options exist because I'm doing it for other organizations. So it might be just a matter of doing it that way. Yeah. So more to follow on that. However, my battle with Teespring is more likely finished because I'm not going to be able to argue with them that like we have some ownership rights to the word Star Wars in our logo, because guess what? We don't.
Right.
So that's it. That's all I had for my week in Star Wars.
All right. Well, moving on to our main topic, we are talking about Rebels Season 1. Now, we're breaking this into two parts because the first season is 16 episodes, broken up onto two discs, episodes 1 through 8 on one disc, 9 through 16 on the other. So we're going to do it just the same way we do Clone Wars. We're going to go one disc at a time per episode. But before we actually get into the episodes themselves, you wanted to talk about the prequel novel, A New Dawn, a little bit.
I did. I think that the reason I like the Rebel series as much as I do compared to Clone Wars is because I did read this novel. It was the novel itself was actually really good. It was something that was released in September of 2014. And an interesting note, like through Wikipedia, I was looking at it. This is one of the first things that the Lucas group, like the continuity group, this is one of the first things that they all collaborated on. So there's from a continuity standpoint, they worked hard to maintain continuity throughout the Star Wars universe when they wrote the book. And plus, knowing that it was the kind of the lead into this series, they wanted to make sure that they had, everything as accurate as they possibly could. Don't want to go into real deep detail about the book, honestly. I think, Rebels is over. Whether you're in the middle of watching Rebels or not or whatever, it's kind of irrelevant. By now, you can get this book in paperback. It's worth a read. I think it's Dave Martin's opinion. It was a good read. It was an easy read. There was some nuances there, like with Hera and with Kanan, that stuff started pretty early. The things as Rebels finished, for those who've watched every episode, those things started early on when they first kind of encountered each other. You kind of felt like there was good, there was something there. It does talk about Kanan, his name was Caleb Doom. And then after Order 66 and all the Jedi were annihilated, he lived through that and ended up changing his name and, doing odd jobs and, growing through adolescence. So he never was fully trained as a Jedi. He was basically a Padawan when Order 66 happens, and he just happened to escape it. So, and that goes throughout the Rebels episodes. We're even going to talk about it here. Like he doesn't have the Jedi, like, he doesn't share the Jedi mantra, I'll say. Yeah. Like he's not following the same book as the standard like Jedi shit that we're used to seeing out of the prequels. Like think when all the Jedi were there, like, oh well, this is how we look at things. He's definitely his own person in how he interacts. The timeline for New Dawn, this is actually the book represents 6 years prior to the Rebels series starting. So the book is written 6 years prior to what we're going to get ready to talk about here in the Rebels episodes.
Yep.
This interesting stuff that I noted, and again, I would love to say, oh, I reread the book to get ready for this. What the fuck am I gonna have time for that? Yeah. But going into Wikipedia and kind of reading through some of the stuff and it reminded me when Caleb was a Padawan, apparently he was in a class with Obi-Wan, and actually they talked about the transmitter that would say like, hey, come back to Coruscant. Coruscant's in trouble. The Jedi recall. you know, as
Yeah.
it were. And Caleb asked, you know, hey, could that message be reversed, you know, in some way? And then, you know, ironically, Obi-Wan actually reverses the message to be able to keep the Jedi, you know, some of the Jedi from being killed.
Yep.
You know, he goes into Coruscant and reverses the message. So I thought that was interesting. And then Ray Sloane's in this book. And it's Captain Ray Sloane, and she's, you know, she's captain of different, you know, Imperial vessels. So, you know, Ray Sloane is one of these really, she's one of these characters that jumps around in these books, and you're kind of waiting for her to become a thing in the novelization, or not the novelization, but the, you know, the theatrical canon.
Yeah, because yeah, as far as we know, she's still alive. She was mentioned as late in the timeline as the Phasma book.
Right.
They had mentioned something about having a meeting with Admiral Sloane or Grand Admiral Sloane at that point. So we know by about The Force Awakens, she was still alive, and we still have not seen what her fate ended up being. Or is she going to be in episode 9? Who the fuck knows?
It makes me wonder, like, because I've yet to read. I'm flipping through the pages here of the Last Jedi novelization, which I still need to read. It makes me wonder if there's some mention of her in here. We'll see. I'm going to read the solo book first before I read that, though.
Yeah,
just for whatever. But yeah, so those are the big things. Like, if you're into the Rebels and you haven't read New Dawn, I highly recommend that you do it. I think it's good background information. There's some good storytelling. It's not a requisite. Like Rebels starts with these characters, and it develops these characters within the episodes. You don't have to have read something like New Dawn to really understand what's going on with these characters. Yeah, I think the series does that on its own.
Yeah, and it released, like you said, in September of 2014. Rebels didn't start until October 3rd of 2014. So yeah, the book came out before Rebels started. And I just wanted to mention before, I know I've mentioned that I have never seen Rebels, with the exception of I saw this pilot episode. I saw Spark of Rebellion parts 1 and 2 because I remember watching it on premiere night with my kids and being really excited. Oh, new Star Wars series. Watched it. Thought, oh yeah, that was pretty cool. And I was hoping, my hope was this was something I was going to share with my kids like every week. You know, we were going to, all right, it's Rebels night. So we're going to sit down and we're going to watch Rebels. And when the second episode aired, damn you. When the second episode aired, I asked my kids, I'm like, hey guys, you ready to watch Rebels? And they were all just like, eh. So they really were not enthused at all to watch Rebels. My God, you have no idea how loud that was.
I'll find out later.
I don't know why I even bother sometimes. But anyway, because my kids didn't really want to watch it, it very quickly fell off my radar, like so many other things do in my adult life. So yeah, I only ever saw the 2 pilot episodes and nothing past that. So as I'm watching these episodes, as we're going through the series, this is the first time I'm seeing it. So like the last episode, the Empire Day, just watched that this afternoon during my lunch break. And that's the last episode we're going to cover today.
I didn't watch any of this stuff live either. You know, when we were talking about doing the podcast, it was something that was available on Netflix. And I think we even talked about it, you know, early on in the podcast, like when we talked about what's on Netflix, what's not, you know, and trying to watch Clone Wars and, you know, Rebels. I don't know if it was on Netflix or not. I think I might have ended up just buying it on iTunes because after having read the New Dawn book, I was in that period where I was like, all right, I want to ingest all the Star Wars that I can, the new canon through all the novels. And when I read that New Dawn book, I'm like, all right, now I need to read this series. So I got New Dawn. I don't think I got it. I don't think I got it like in September of 14. That seems like it was. I feel like I've gotten it way sooner than that. I have to check my Amazon account to be honest with you to find out exactly when I got it. But it was definitely one of those things that once I read that book, I'm like, oh, I'm interested in the Rebels now.
Yeah. So we're not going to go through every single individual episode, like and recap everything that happened in each one. We're just going to kind of go through my notes, talk about anything noteworthy, because ultimately what in these first 8 episodes, what it's built is we're introduced to our cast of characters, our rebels, who are Ezra, which is the little 15-year-old kid who's showing force powers early on. We've got Kanan, who you talked about, former Jedi Padawan, experienced the Purge, and has been kind of living in hiding. Then we're introduced to the rest of his crew, which is Sabine, who is, we find out later, she's from Mandalore, which is why she wears the fucking Mandalorian armor.
Mm-hmm.
The Twi'lek chick, I can't even remember her name because she barely talks in these first 8 episodes.
Hera Syndulla,
Probably
main character.
She is not the main character.
She's basically the main character.
Well, not in these first 8 episodes. I'll tell you that much. In these first 8 episodes, it's mostly centered around Ezra, a little bit of Kanan.
Well, okay, I'll give you that. Ezra is supposed to be like, Ezra is the introduction to this crew that's together. She's the captain of this crew.
Yeah. Whereas I'm going to tell you right now, so far Ezra seems like the fucking young Anakin of this series. Where
Ezra's a whiny bitch in these first episodes, man. I won't deny it. It's a slow starter. Kind of like Clone Wars was. It's a slow starter, but it's I'm not even going to say that these first episodes were important for building his character into later parts of the episode. You got to start somewhere. So here it is.
Yeah, and then we're introduced to Zeb, who's, I can't remember the fucking species that he is, but the cool thing is, and most Star Wars fans know this now, Zeb's character was designed based off of the old Ralph McQuarrie original Chewbacca images. Mm-hmm. So they took those, and what's his name? Dave Filoni has mentioned this many times in the past. That was the inspiration for Zeb's look, was that original Ralph McQuarrie art, but he's like from a species that almost got completely eradicated. He's like one of the last ones left.
Right. And they cover that in episodes of Rebels with his species. They make it a point to talk about that.
Yeah, and they've only mentioned it once in one episode in these first 8 because they were smuggling, or they were trying to get these disruptor rifles from the Empire, which apparently is what the Empire used to eradicate most of his species. Mm-hmm. So that was where, and that's the thing that's going on in a lot of these early episodes is for the first like 2 or 3 episodes, you don't get any background on any of these fucking characters. You don't know anything about them beyond just very, very light hints of something. And then they're slowly starting to develop these guys, telling us a little bit about their background. Like with Sabine, it wasn't until episode 7 that they talked about her origins, where she mentioned she was from the Imperial Academy on Mandalore, which kind of blew my mind, thinking like, I didn't realize the Empire had a presence on Mandalore, but apparently they do. They have an academy there, and she was on that. So she's Mandalorian. We know Ezra's had parents, but at first I think it was insinuated that they were dead, but then we find out later they might still be alive. We get little details about Kanan, little details about Zeb.
And I'll tell you, like the Ezra backstory, like with the parents, is something that you're going to see throughout all 4 seasons.
Oh, really?
Like the Ezra parents issue. Honestly, there's a lot of stuff that we talk about here in the first season. They're going to go back to and get deeper into, if not for, I mean, they spent almost half a season, I think, just talking about Mandalore and Sabine's interactions with Mandalore. Definitely at the end with Ezra and the parents and those things. It's all stuff that they build on throughout these episodes. You got to remember, there's only 4 seasons to this, and the 4th season was mainly dedicated to like closing it, kind of closing out what everything was going on. So, these first 2 seasons are really about development of these characters.
Yeah, and one thing I want to point out too is they are not in line with the Rebel Alliance at all. They're called rebels. My initial impression was that they were maybe like a little band of like, I don't know, working for the Alliance or doing something for them. But as of right now, no, they're just like fucking mercenaries and scoundrels just trying to like steal their way into being able to eat tomorrow. And, if they can stick it to the Empire along the way, that's just a bonus for them. But as of right now, with the exception of the Twi'lek chick, who you claim is the main character, she's had like 5 lines of dialogue so far.
She's the captain of the crew.
Right. Well, I thought Kanan was kind of their leader and she's just the pilot.
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, they haven't given us that yet in these first 8 episodes.
Yeah, just because Kanan's like the Jedi in the group, like Hera has been, and this is a throwback to New Dawn, like Hera's running, she's been running her own crew, doing these infiltration and, just messing with the Imperials, like you said, not necessarily like working side work for the rebellion, basically, as opposed to like being wholehearted into it. But she's definitely been a troublemaker for the Imperials since A New Dawn, so 6 years prior to that, when she ends up meeting Kanan by happenstance.
Yeah. So I just want to go through my notes for some of these episodes. For the first couple episodes, it starts off, I didn't realize this, but it starts off with Vader talking to the Inquisitor, who's going to be a big part of at least this first season. I don't know how much longer he lives, but he's a huge part of this beginning of the series. And I didn't realize James Earl Jones does the voice for Vader in this episode. So I don't know if you knew that, but according to IMDb, it's actually him doing the voice of Darth Vader. Now, I don't know if he did it for the rest of the series, because I know Vader comes back multiple times in Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
But he did for this episode, which was kind of cool. And one note that I made early on in this is before Ezra bumps into our band of rebels. He steals some crates using the same speeders that the Empire uses on Endor, and they recycle the same sounds. And it's just like hearing these speeders like whiz through this city, and it all kind of brings back that whole speeder chase from Jedi.
You know what? And that's one of the things I really like about just Rebels in general. I think that the use of, using Ralph McQuarrie art in a lot of these things, it's the artwork is so much different than Clone Wars. Like the actual, like how the cartoon is drawn is, I think to me, it's drawn better. I like how the characters are drawn better in Rebels than I do in Clone Wars. For whatever aesthetics, it just is more aesthetically pleasing to me.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I think the music, you're getting score that's in it. That's straight Star Wars score. You're hearing TIE fighters, you're hearing the blasters, and all these things. They do a really good job of tying it into, and making you realize this. Hey, fuck, we haven't seen anybody yet that's involved with the rebellion or Star Wars aside from the stormtroopers, honestly. So, but that this is a Star Wars joint. So, and I think they do a good job of that.
And I made a note about the TIE fighters, because in multiple episodes in these first 8, there's a lot of TIE fighter action going on between Ezra and Zeb stealing one in one episode, or them getting attacked by TIE fighters constantly throughout the thing. And I'm like, Dave's got to have like a raging fucking hard on through all of this. No wonder you like Rebels so fucking much. And
exactly. It should be
TIE fighters that are in this.
It should be no doubt whatsoever as to where my alliances, lay.
Yeah, because even in the last episode of this disc, the Empire Day, they unveil the TIE Advanced. It's like the grand unveiling of it with the curved wings and all that. And I'm just like,
you mean this guy? This guy right here?
Yeah. So I'm like, Dave's just got to be fucking no fucking wonder, because you see, you see TIE pilots all over the place. They've got one episode where TIE pilots are actually like law enforcers, like they land their fucking TIE fighters onto the planet, and they're like going place to place looking for a fucking Rhodian. So they're acting as like enforcers and TIE pilots and everything else. I'm like,
there's a reason they carry guns, brother.
Yep. Yeah,
that was strictly for the YouTube audience.
So speaking of recycling old sounds, one thing I noticed in the second episode, we come across a group of Wookiees that have been enslaved by the Empire, and our band of rebels decides to free them. There is a young Wookiee amongst them, a little like toddler Wookiee, and I swear to you, the first time you hear that thing growl, it is the recycled sound from the fucking holiday special from Lumpy. I guarantee you. And Dave is out of here. All right, it looks like it's just my show from now on. So Yes,
You had to
it
work.
is.
You had to work the fucking holiday special into this. See,
I didn't put the fucking lumpy sound into Rebels. Okay, that was Dave Filoni.
God, I cramped. I cramped when I pushed myself away. Oh my god, it's the worst ever. Somebody give me a banana.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Fuck.
Oh, it happened all right.
Fuck your fucking holiday special. All right,
it's there. It's in your Rebels. You wanted to talk about Rebels, so let's talk about it.
I want this sound isolated. I'm gonna fucking bring it up right now. Look,
yes,
it could be anybody doing a Wookiee sound. That's just because
I'm telling you, it is that recycle sound there. Whatever screech Lumpy makes. I'm telling you, it's there. But anyway,
fuck your holiday special.
I got
desperation. The desperation of you trying to make it fucking just make this thing canon is just
it sounds like this. It sounds like the story group is trying to make it canon. I'm going
to start tweeting at Matt Martin and fucking Leland Chi. I mean, like, hashtag don't you dare fucking make the holiday special canon. Like, I'll do it every 5 fucking minutes if I have to. I'll go hire some Russians to fucking make bots that are just all they're going to do is just inundate these guys with these hashtags.
Well, they're going to be pretty busy. We've got another election cycle coming up, so
fair enough. I don't have any money, so they're whatever.
Yeah. So
Wheeler Yubichev cool.
Yeah. Some other stuff that they recycled. We see the holocron. Ezra steals a holocron from Kanan. He eventually opens it up, and that's how we find out he's got force powers. And it's Obi-Wan telling Jedi, hey, get the fuck away from the temple. And it's the guy who does the voice of Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars. So we get that consistency from Clone Wars to Rebels, which apparently, from what I'm being told, it's not just Obi-Wan, but it's also Ahsoka, fucking some other characters from Clone Wars also come back to Rebels, same voice actors and everything. So
that's my understanding as well.
Yeah. Well, you've seen everything, so
I haven't seen all of everything. I haven't seen all of the Clone Wars yet.
Yeah. Now, the third episode, Droids in Distress. I don't know if you noticed this or not, but the second it came on screen, I fucking marked out big time. And Dave's saying no. The fucking droid and the shuttle from Star Tours are a big part of this fucking episode. If you remember, this is R2-D2 and C-3PO are sent with this Imperial bitch who's talking to this other fucking guy. This is the one where they were like, I think this is where they were doing the blaster rifles, those disruptor rifles that killed all of Zeb's species.
Okay.
And they were negotiating like the Empire taking these from this guy. And they board this fucking shuttle. That's the Star Tours shuttle from Disneyland. And it's the fucking robot that's from the original Star Tours robot. And after doing more research, come to find out the voice of that robot from the original Star Tours was voiced by Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman. They got him to do the voice for this robot in fucking Rebels. So I'm just like, holy shit. That is fucking awesome. That's the kind of shit that I like to see.
Yeah,
in my Star Wars universe.
Yeah, bring it all together. Absolutely, bring it all together. I didn't pick up on that nuance at all. Like, I didn't go on Star Tours as many times as you have.
Yeah, I've been on it a lot.
I didn't live that close to fucking Disneyland where I could go and do it all the times that you did. So, but yeah, that's. I'm trying. As we're speaking, I'm going to see if I can open up. This is not the right thing. If I can get that queued up on my Mac here, that would be fucking classic.
What, the Wookiee sounds?
I don't want. Fuck you and your Wookiees. You're going to make me hate Wookiees. That's what it's going to come down to.
I didn't do it. I didn't make the holiday special or Rebels.
You're going to turn me into a Wookiee hater.
I'm just giving you facts as I'm seeing them.
Your facts. air quote facts. I got your facts.
Or observations, maybe. Anyway, so something else that happened in this third episode, they mentioned Governor Price, who we didn't even talk about. At least these first 8 episodes. I don't know if the whole series is like this, but these first 8 episodes all take place on Lothal, which is where Governor Price is from. If you go back to our Thrawn episode, or if you've read the Thrawn novel, they get into her whole backstory on Lothal and how she eventually became the governor. So Yeah, they mention her in this. They mention her again in more later episodes. We haven't seen her yet, but I'm sure she's going to show up.
Right.
And
I'm not going to spoil any of that, but she is definitely a big part of what's going on.
Yeah, and
especially in the end.
Yeah, and if you want an idea for what a governor does, remember in Episode 4, the original Star Wars, when Tarkin walks into the boardroom on the Death Star and he says the Emperor has dissolved the Imperial Senate permanently. And the one dude's, well, how would the Emperor maintain control without the bureaucracy? Well,
the local governors.
Yeah, the regional governors now have direct control over their territory. So that is what Governor Price is. She is the regional governor for Lothal and then a couple other planets, I think, in the area. But did you ever find what you were looking for?
I'm just going to sit here, be aggravated, and
all right,
just continue.
Throughout a lot of these episodes, we see Ezra kind of looking like he's a little infatuated with Sabine. I don't know what the age difference is between these two. I think they're supposed to be around the same age.
They're both like teenagers.
Yeah, well, we find out that Ezra is 15. Ezra was apparently born on the day that Palpatine dissolved or changed the Republic to the Empire. So the day that fucking Mace Windu turned his face into a boiling hemorrhoid was the same day
that get laid one more time.
Yeah. So that was the same day that Ezra was born, come to find out later. So yeah, this all takes place 15 years after Episode 3. But yeah, we see a lot of flirting between Ezra and Sabine. This is becoming a theme as we're going along. I'm like, I don't know what the age difference is. She seems older to me, but yeah, whatever. I wrote down, Ezra's getting really annoying. A lot of his back and forth with Zeb reminding me a lot of the Anakin and Obi-Wan back and forth from fucking Clone Wars that I couldn't stand.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not gonna. Yeah, some of it's not good. Yeah, they can't all be fucking winners, man. I don't know what to tell you.
But yeah, some of these episodes were kind of forgettable. They were just like a one and done sort of deal. I don't really need to get into the details of any of them, but overall, I mean, the stories were good. Overall, the production was good, as we've talked about, between the fucking sound effects and then reaching back to a lot of stuff and including a lot of nuances from the Star Wars continuity. So far, I'm actually really enjoying this.
Yeah, I guess really it comes down to, and like we alluded to just minutes ago, there's so much of like, it just feels so much like Star Wars. I just really enjoy it. It's, they're constantly flying to fuck around. They're in the Ghosts. The Ghost is kind of has a feel like the Millennium Falcon. They want you to feel like the Ghost is as much of the series as as the characters are. So as the ship. So I appreciate them trying to do that. I appreciate, when I first started watching, I was like, are they trying too hard to make this into a, like, okay, here's your cast and crew. It's just not, it's just different. It's not Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, R2-D2 and 3PO. It's you got, fuck, I'm blanking on the goddamn droid's name. Chopper. Yeah. You have Chopper, you've got your Wookiee character in Zeb. You got a Mando, a couple of Jedi type characters, and you have the Twi'lek, who gets, the more you watch, it gets hotter. I'm sorry. Just,
oh, really?
It's a thing. Twi'leks, something about Twi'leks. But yeah, it's just, like I said, and there's a lot of TIE fighter shit in here. Like, well, what's not to like? What's not to like?
I have a note here. I wonder if I can actually get it close enough to the camera to read. Oh, there it is right there. So let me just do this. Very interesting for the audio, I'm sure.
We can hear the paper.
Well, I don't know if you can even read my shitty handwriting, but
let's say.
So Dave must have a huge hard on.
It's not focusing. It doesn't help that I'm talking.
Yeah. So no,
it definitely was there in the notes.
Yeah. Dave must have a huge hard on watching this. Yeah. So. That was my note for this. But yeah, overall, good stuff. Another thing, I'm sure we're gonna get the backstory on this if this is true, but I noticed that the Twi'lek chick, what the fuck is her name again?
Hera.
She barely talks in these first 8 episodes. I'm sorry, but whenever she does talk, she's always talking to Kanan. She always refers to him as dear or love. So I'm like, are they fucking? Like, are Kanan and this Twi'lek bitch fucking? Because that's kind of what I'm like possibly seeing, but
no,
they're not. Yeah. No. All right. Oh well. You are sexually attracted to me. You will take your clothes off and have intercourse with me. That's what I'd be doing, but that's just me. So anyway, did you have any other notes about these first 8 episodes? Because like I said,
no, it's character development. There's some of Ezra whininess that's really annoying in there. Like I said, I appreciated it for what they were trying to build on, not necessarily each individual episode. The holocron stuff I thought was pretty cool, especially the reach back for the Obi-Wan thing. I thought that was a good addition to how they started this series. So it gives you a really solid idea where this is in the timeline. There's no question as to where they are in the timeline in this. And obviously all the throwbacks to the except for the Wookiee fucking sounds that you're making this shit up with.
Oh no, I'm gonna find it and I'll throw it up on YouTube or something. But I had some other things that I wanted to talk about, specifically about the Bronco Feds comments in the chat.
Wait till season 3. Yeah, exactly.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Whipster. Fuck you! It's goddamn holiday special.
So anyway, you know how I talked about the Blu-rays for the Clone Wars, how pretty much every episode has this really cool behind the scenes with like Dave Filoni and producers of the show and all that. They do something similar for Rebels, but honestly, it's not as good. It's the chick that you like from the fucking Star Wars show from StarWars.com. She hosts the thing and she asks, and she's like interviewing members of the cast and asking them specific questions about that episode. But it's not nearly as in-depth or as cool as the behind-the-scenes stuff from Clone Wars, at least the ones that I watched. So I'm not really that excited about these.
Again, my watching it, I haven't done it with any extra dialogue except for the shows, so I can't speak to that at all. I like her. Which sidebar, we got time. I like the Star Wars show. I like it's 15 minutes. They're short little interviews. A lot of I can't remember the fucking people's names right now. My brain's completely fucking fried. But
yeah,
like it's a good when I see a new one pop up, and I like to share it with everyone else out there, at least on Facebook. I like the show. I think it's a good little some of the bits. I like the stuff where they're going, especially into like the archives of certain things, and you see like some how they're restoring some of the costumes and different puppets and things like that, as they're doing other things in the series. Like they get into these little nuances of Star Wars that are just great. It's kind of, I think of it like this. I think of it as like, if you're, I subscribe to Star Wars Insider, whatever. It's one of those things. It's just another thing to read sometimes. And there is good little quips in there. This is like getting a weekly Star Wars Insider. Like you're getting a little tidbit of something from inside the, behind the green door, as it were. And regardless whether you like the hosts or not, like they bring relevant characters on for interviews. They bring people in. They just this past one they brought in Donald Glover, and they had fucking crappy Han Solo on there, who was just as bad in the interview as he is in the fucking trailers. Honestly.
Great.
But Donald Glover, I think, kind of had some cool insights at how he specifically said, and I think you mentioned this in the last podcast. You specifically mentioned it or somebody in the chat had mentioned it. But I'll give you credit for it.
Sure.
Why not? Yeah. Talking about Donald Glover not doing a Lando impression. That was a concern in the movie. Like, don't do a Lando impression. And Donald Glover's basically said, he's like, I wanted to be that character, how it would be in that time frame.
Yeah.
And specifically he's basically says, I'm not doing a Lando impression. I'm doing like what I think he would have been like in that era.
Yeah.
Or in that environment, they're still figuring out, like, Donald Glover in the episode states it as, like you're just getting out of college and you got a little bit of money and you're still trying to figure out how you're going to dress and things like that. So you got all your different outfits and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it kind of portrays it. You're the cool guy. You're still trying to figure out your look type of deal.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I like that insight, and it's produced by Star Wars. It's all legit Star Wars content. So I again, the whole purpose of this is me defending the Star Wars show. Jason doesn't like it. Jason doesn't like the hosts.
I don't dislike the concept. I just don't like the hosts.
So fucking get over it. It's 15 minutes. You take a shit, watch the show, and then fucking we have something to comment on. But anyway, yeah, I plug the Star Wars show. I like it. She's cute. The jokes they're obviously written by people they're not like, they're writing for the Star Wars show. So think of the little quips back and forth between the two of them. I could care less about the dude. Like, I think she's been around, I think, longer than he has, as far as like stuff in with LucasArts. But
yeah.
Anyway, there ends my defense of the Star Wars show.
Yep. Now, and to close out our Rebels discussion, I'm not looking for spoilers. I don't want anyone to tell me what happens, but I'm intrigued to see where this goes, like where this series concludes, mostly like, because we know that there is some interaction with them and Rogue One. Because I know I've seen where they showed the ship, the Ghost, is in that fucking battle over Scarif.
Yep.
So we know they are involved with that. Whether or not they actually show it in the show, I don't know. And if they are or aren't, like, are they involved with what happens in A New Hope? And really, what are the fate of all of these characters? Because obviously we haven't seen any of them beyond A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well,
who the fuck knows?
That's why the end of this series is so much more relevant than the end of the Clone Wars, because we know what happens to all those characters in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
With these characters, you don't. And this is without Rogue One, we may not have this suspense. You know what I mean? Like, Rogue One kind of sets us up for, like, there's a distinct possibility they could kill everybody the fuck off at the end of this. Just say, you know what? Fuck it. We're done. And then those characters don't exist anymore. It's a real possibility, because guess what? Rogue One's done it. It's precedence now. So, I'm not saying that that's what happens here, but I'm saying that, like you just mentioned, like, you kind of want to know, like, how do all these things tie in? And I think that's an important part of the series, and it helps it be relevant. Yeah.
No, and I will say that I'm excited to get the rest of the season done. So I'll probably watch the second half of this disc this coming weekend, because I've got a 3-day weekend coming up. So we may be able to bang through Rebels a lot faster than we've been getting through Clone Wars.
Like I said, I think you're going to find that to be true. I think, like we started out saying early on in this episode of the podcast, we'll probably be finished with Rebels before we finish with Clone Wars. Not because we're not paying attention to Clone Wars, but just by the nature of how it's going to come out. Now we're going to watch it.
It's just fewer episodes in Rebels too.
Yeah, exactly. So, just by attrition.
Yep. So, and that's really it. Again, like I said, we're not going to break down individual episodes, because that would get boring really quick.
Where'd my notes go? There it went. All right.
So
it doesn't matter anyway.
And we're actually getting close to the clock anyway. So do you have anything else you want to talk about before we close out? We haven't picked out a topic for next week either. So we
have not. Well, this is for us trying to get back on our Sunday taping schedule. That hasn't worked out so far.
No,
hopefully we'll be able to pull it off this Sunday. I don't know. We'll see. Let's hey group, that's in the chat. The half dozen of you that are in there. What do you think? What do you think we should do next? We'll let them decide. We'll kill time while they come up with something.
Yeah, and while they're coming up with something, social media.
So important note here. I'm going to start with YouTube, because through the efforts of our listening audience and my wife, We're 4 away. We're 4 subscribers away from our 100. And
we're so close.
We're so close. And in my head, once we hit 100 and we can start fucking doing youtube.com/ all things, Star Wars, all things Star Wars pod, or however it is we're going to do it. Mm-hmm. It's just whoosh, we'll be able to advertise it so much better that way. So we're 4 subscribers away. So Jason and maybe me and you have to do something. I don't want to. I'm leaving it up to all you guys. You're making it happen. I'd like to have it happen by Sunday, so that on Sunday we can have a big, nice reveal that, hey, we're at 100 subscribers. Go to youtube.com/ all things Star Wars pod and find all our content there. Yes. And then we can start advertising. Yes. Or maybe we make it easier on ourselves and do like all things SW pod. That way, if we want to market it on shit, we don't get trademark issues. Maybe that's what we end up doing. That's another conversation to have.
Yeah.
But, otherwise, it's get on YouTube, subscribe, steal your kids' phones, steal your wife's phones, hide the kids, hide the wife, hide the kids, hide the wife. Do what you got to do. Get us those 4 subscribers. So I'd like to see that happen by Sunday.
Yeah, it'd be great.
So get on to YouTube. If you're on Instagram, we're getting more subscribers on Instagram. Like, we got thousands of subscribers on Instagram, and I love the fact that when we post something on there, we get a lot of interaction on Instagram. I like to see all you Instagram people get on iTunes, give us reviews, get on Facebook, maybe leave a review, or just get on fucking YouTube. I know you have YouTube accounts, and fucking subscribe. Do it, and you will do it.
Yes.
So on the Instagram, we're all things Star Wars pod. On the Twitter, we're all things SW pod, and facebook.com/ all things Star Wars pod. And that's pretty much it. We have, you can go to our web address, which will direct you to Facebook at all things Star Wars pod.com, and that'll take care of that. And all things Star Wars pod at gmail.com. If you want to email us, you got something, you want to say directly to us, go for it. We're, as it stands right now, we're in full prep mode to get ready for the May the 4th shit, which is weeks away. Honestly, weeks away.
2 weeks away.
Which is insane to me that it's going to be May. Hey, you know what? Maybe, you know how excited Dave will be if he actually, like, the Air Force decides he's going to pay him on May the 1st.
That'd be great.
How awesome that would be. Like, I'll be so excited. I'll be so excited. I'll have like, it'll be the best. I'll be the happiest Dave ever. If I actually see some money on the 1st. Come on, DFAS, do your stuff. So anyway, I don't even want to get into that. But
plus, we're running out of time. So
happy Life Day, Mr. Martin. Oh God, damn it! That's not what we want. That's
what I want.
So we'll figure out what we're gonna do for Sunday. The chat room isn't helping here. I'm gonna ignore any comments alluding to the air quote movie that would be called the holiday special. I'm just going to put a filter up, and I'm going to ignore anything that has anything to do with the fucking holiday special.
We got a lot of responses in our private Facebook group after that episode.
Obviously,
too. All kinds of gifts and memes and
yeah. I'm surprised there wasn't one of my face with the triggered thing happening when the fucking
make that happen, audience. Make it happen.
Oh, why did I even do that? Why did I even give people that idea? God damn it! I'm so stupid.
Just keep digging that hole, Dave. Just keep digging.
Yeah, it's fucking great. Hey, I will say, as we're reading the Solo book, and one thing that we have commented on about Solo is there's a social media push right now. It seems like Star Wars. I don't know how people have their Facebook stuff set up. Is you can have all things Star Wars podcast be one of the first things that always pops up. If you go into your settings in Facebook, you can actually have it so that we are the first thing that shows up in your feed. So anything new that comes out for us, you can have it set up that way. I'm not going to go through the instructions because I don't remember, but it was one of those things. So you can set up all things Star Wars podcast to be like, whenever we push something out, it'll be the first thing in your feed. Like I have us for some reason, even though we're posting the stuff most of the time. So it's not like anyway. But Star Wars is one of them. I have a local news channel that's another one. So you can actually set up multiple ones. So it's the first things in your feed before you get into the rest of your Facebook nonsense. Yeah. Hey, keep using Facebook, by the way, people. I have stock in Facebook. I know Zuckerberg's an idiot, and there's all this other bullshit, whatever, blah, 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 whatever. Fucking keep using it because I need that stock price to come back up to, so I'm not losing money here. Please.
Right. Yes.
I know we're old. Some of us are old people, and we actually use Facebook. I know people like Just Fresh. Oh, by the way, can we talk about fucking homeboys? Just Fresh is isn't Just Fresh fucking on Battlefront?
Oh, is he?
Yeah, isn't that come on, Jason, help me out here.
It's not McNasty, if that's what you're thinking.
I thought it was McNasty.
No.
I know he's.
You're confusing our listeners.
I'm confusing myself.
I'd be offended if I was Just Fresh, but that's me.
Why? That you got, dude? What? Regardless, there was fucking 101 kills on a Battlefront fucking map.
Yeah, no, he did do that.
I think it was 108. I think it was 108 kills.
Yeah, and like no deaths or something like that.
It was fucking insane, man. I actually logged into Battlefront the other day, kind of by accident. I'm like, I can't go back, not right now. I'm sidebar, non-Star Wars related, but I really want to play Battlefront. I'm waiting until these new releases come out.
Mm-hmm.
Until the updates come out, and then the update, they did push an update, and it's better. But now I'm like waiting for the stuff we talked about last week, where their Battlefront, the old original Battlefront 2 is going to drop for playing reverse compatibility. So I'm waiting for that shit to come out. In the meantime, I've been a little bit obsessed with Nazi zombies. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not. I'm not proud of it, but it's been one of those things where I kind of like the way that the Nazi zombies right now is set up. I need other people in there though. It's John and I usually. That's a thing. When he used to live down in Florida, and he'd come up and we drink whiskey and fucking play Nazi zombies. So Nazi zombies by myself is not working out too well. I made it to level 7, and it's like it starts getting impossible. Froze up a little bit there. Anyway, I'm rambling.
All right, yeah. So let's close this out. If you play Star Wars: The Old Republic, or if you have any desire to, let me know because I'm on there almost every day. So. Otherwise, follow all the social media that Dave talked about. And until then, Dave, may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you. Am I supposed to click stop broadcast now?